Hi everyone, this video is about salaries and living costs in Korea. So someone asked me in a comment to make a video about salaries. So I thought, why not, make a video about salaries and living costs all together. So it's a very rough range of income and costs, and I have it summarized in this notebook because each type of income and cost can differ by the specific job or specific brands of groceries that you buy. So keep in mind that this is just to give you a very general idea based on my own experience and from what I've heard from friends and family while living in Korea, which is almost all my life. So first, let's start with salaries. Company salary. Generally, income for the first several years that you enter a firm would be relatively low, and annual income would increase depending on the time that you've spent in that company, right? So I'm just going to assume here that it is your first job after graduating college, right out of college. If you enter a small and medium-sized company in Korea after graduating college, how much would you get? You would get about $1,600 to $2,500 approximately. This is based on the current exchange rate where $1 equals approximately 1,200 won. Okay. What about when you enter a large multinational company? We have a lot of multinational companies in Korea as well. There, I heard that you get about $2,500 to $3,500 or more. Now, licensed professional income. Okay, so for licensed professionals, I just brought here a brief idea about the income of lawyers and doctors. In the case of lawyers, assuming it is your first job after getting your license, usually in your late 20s to early 30s for law school graduates, if you enter a small law firm, I heard that the first several years you get about $3,000 to $4,000 monthly, and if you enter a big law firm, you get like from $4,000 to $8,000 or even more, depending on which law firm you enter. Now, in the case of doctors, so after you graduate mid school, you get your medical license. You'd be from early to late 30s usually here in Korea. Now, the income for doctors ranges dramatically depending on whether you work for a university hospital or a small private hospital, whether you're employed as a pay doctor or you open your own hospital. So this is just a very general idea. If you work for a university hospital, you would get an income of around $5,500 to $8,000 per month. If you're a pay doctor in a private hospital, you'd get from $8,000 to $17,000 or even more if you're working in a rural area where medical access is relatively low and so forth. Let's go to living costs. I'm going to tell you two things: costs of having meals outside, and secondly, costs for housing, so monthly rent, assuming that you're living in a one-person studio or flat. Now, for meals, assuming you're eating outside, a casual meal for one person would range from typically 3,000 won to more than 20,000 won. So that would be about 2.5 to $17. Now, the cheapest one, I was considering stuff like tteokbokki, sundae, or kimbap, which are one of my favorite desserts as well. They cost very cheap, but at the same time, a lot of people enjoy them for desserts as well as for meals. If you want to get a full set of side dishes with rice and soup and everything, meat, fish, they would range around 20,000 won to much more than that. Or sometimes you would get a simple rice and soup for only around 7,000 or 8,000 won. So in dollars, that would be around, I think, plus minus $10. But as you know, if you have meals at home, everything can be much cheaper, of course. So for example, a box of 600-gram cereal would cost around 5,000 to 10,000 won. That'd be like $4 to $8. And a pack of 1 liter milk would cost you what, like $1 to $2.5. So With that, you can have multiple breakfast meals for even less than $10. So how cheap is that? Well, anyways, the problem here in Korea is the monthly rent, like in a lot of major cities around the world. Uh, Assuming that you're living in a one-person studio or flat, let's assume you're living in Seoul. It really differs on the location, but let's assume that you live in Seoul, and a normal flat would cost you from $420 to $1,200 if you live in the central area, or even more per month. This is a monthly rent. But we have another unique tenant contract in Korea called Jeonse. So if you're able to pay a bigger chunk of money, like a deposit, you deposit around $84,000 to $200,000 or more at the beginning of the contract, but you don't pay any additional monthly rent. And when your contract expires after 1 year, 2 years, or 4 years, you move out, and then you get your whole chunk of money back. The amount that you gave to the owner, you get them all back. So what you lose is only the inflation rates. So this is a pretty unique contract type that was developed in Korea because the Koreans would get high interest rates from the banks, so they liked to insert money and just keep them there in the account, in the bank account. Well, anyways, I heard that Angelina Jolie actually made this contract for her son Maddox, who attends a Korean college, Jeonse University. So of course, I assume that they would have paid for a much bigger and better housing than a 1 or 2 person studio. That was a general idea of how much it would cost to live in Korea in terms of how much it would cost to have meals outside or how much it costs to pay your monthly rent. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video, and please leave in the comment down below anything else that you want me to explain to you about Korean culture, Korean life, anything about whatever you want. Yeah, I'll see you next time. Bye.